Hello, my name is Alan, and tonight I'm facilitating the final session. Turns out only to have been 3 sessions because I was ill last week. So the final session of Against the Dark Conspiracy. This is one of the stretch goal variations on the Kickstarter of my game Against the Dark Conspiracy, in which we are confronting, or the players are confronting, a FAE conspiracy. And we'll kind of fill in where we got to shortly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about where we come from and all the rest. Just simply to say, my pronouns are he, him. This game was organised as part of the Gauntlet RPG Community's online calendar. If you'd like to find out about the Gauntlet, search Gauntlet-RPG. And on the 24th of June, come play with us at the Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 24, 25, 26, 27. I think we're hoping to have 20, 30 games up running across that period, probably more. Registration opens, I think, on the 1st of the month, I want to say, 1st of July, but you can find the details by going to Gauntlet-RPG. We are playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. We are playing with safety tools, X-card, lines, veils, an open door in case anyone needs to step away, and we're also playing within the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. If you want to find out more about all of that, please look at an earlier session in this series. But now I'm very interested in just having the players introduce themselves and say something about their characters. So let me go left to right on the character keeper. Will, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and tell us about Mark Shearwright.
Hi, my pronouns are he, him, as are those of Mark Shearwright. Mark Shearwright is a sociopath, a hitman from the criminal organization, the Black Lodge, who used to be a part of the conspiracy to some degree, but was betrayed by his handlers, and that simply won't do. Don't they know who they're messing with? And so he has hooked up with this group of people that he was probably had his crosshairs on not too long beforehand to help bring them down and get his revenge.
Thank you. Moving along, Brandon, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Jesusita Ramirez.
Yes, hello, my name is Brandon He, and I'm playing Jesusita Ramirez, known as Chuy, to her friends, who was a Spanish national working for Mossad in Israel until her lover and the father of her child, Lev Adelson, was taken from her, disappeared. And since then, she has been trying to uncover the truth of what's really happening. She is a small, slight woman with a nervous smile and a talent for spotting tiny details that later turn out to be significant.
Indeed, she does. And finally, David, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Andy Lamb.
Yeah, hi, my name's David. I use he, him pronouns, and today I'm playing Andy Lamb. Andy Lamb is his family's from Hong Kong, but he was born in Britain and worked as initially a detective and later a consultant for the National Crime Agency, specializing in missing persons and human trafficking. His sort of investigations in this area led him onto the discovery of the FAE conspiracy with sort of people going missing and the like. And last time we saw him, he had after destroying a mirror in a fun house. Oh, sorry, no, before destroying a mirror in a fun house at the carnival. He or at the circus, I suppose. He said he locked eyes with the Lady of Winter, and that was where we last saw him.
Indeed, we did, and then you then took the mirror away.
Yes, that was it. Sorry, yes, we did
that mirror and carried it away. You also carried away a newly appointed junior minister, Giles Savery. Was that, sorry, Will, were you wanting to say something?
No, I always thought you were trying to talk about the ring.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right. No,
because it was our whole magical array of
it was
gewgaws and stuff. Yeah.
So yes, you also took away from last time's op Giles Savery, junior minister in the current government, with an unsavory past, and we'll touch on briefly what he has told you. But all of these adventures have been focused around a ring that you got from a museum, which seems to be wanted by Winter. You have a connection to someone who belongs to the summer component of this conspiracy, a Dr. Brown, and she is still out there. She still wants the ring for summer. You currently have it. It is not a very nice thing because it stops you using your expertise, such as the chill that it gives you, the fear that it gives you. But yes, Giles Savery tells you that he visited the circus where you kidnapped him and where you encountered that Hall of Mirrors and the Mistress of Winter. He visited that circus when it came to his constituency, doing a bit of publicity. And one of the acts, the Marvelous Mercurio, told him to come again when it visited Manchester. So he turned up to the circus in Manchester last time, earlier today, I guess, in terms of when we're placing this, because he was promised that his wishes could come true if he went to the Hall of Mirrors. So he went to the Hall of Mirrors. You also went to the Hall of Mirrors. There was an assault by a red cap. That red cap took out his Black Lodge minders, leaving him to be very grateful to run into Mark Shearwright's arms. And he was very grateful if somebody could sort out his wish to just have his difficult past, kind of erased. Mercurio, the Marvelous Mercurio, was a bit obscure, but told him that he would meet my mistress. And that's all he has to say. So can he go now? Because frankly, he needs to set up some kind of arrangement where he was never near this circus tonight.
And Mark, is going to just take a selfie with him.
Is anyone going to object to letting Giles Savery going? Jesusita, what are you thinking?
No, keeping him would be too complicated. Does he really know nothing about the mistress?
No, he has no idea what's just happened. He thought it was a terrorist attack in that mirror maze. He couldn't. It seemed an odd situation, but and he's still not quite certain what he saw or what happened. Andy, what are you thinking?
Giles is not a man with a grasp on the finer details. That's what he employs the Black Lodge for.
Andy, any observations, or do you have an objection to letting him go?
No, I'm happy for him to go.
And so I think you see him wandering across this car park and calling for the ministerial car, which he's left somewhere in Manchester, to come and pick him up.
Yeah, which is when Mark goes like, ringing for the ministerial car. What a buffoon. There's his tram stop right over there. He could have simply got on. Now he has all those questions to answer.
Not at all. No. I mean, it'll be fine. Boris will be fine about this once he explains that it was just an unfortunate brush with some dodgy Mancunians. So let's cut back to your safe house then. And I'm curious about the nature of the conversation. Andy, what's your thinking at this point?
Well, we've it looks like we've found out at least who's behind part of this, and is going to kind of nod over at the mirror, which I think is probably still covered, but like propped up against a wall.
I assumed it was draped with a blanket or something. Yes.
And
straight with a blanket and a tripwire and a shotgun right in front of it.
So I guess the question is, what do we do next?
Well, Mr. Lamb, it's rather an opaque business, of course, but we know that there are two significant players here. There is this summer lady and this winter mistress. The mother, I believe, was the name that Dr. Brown used for summer. Now, I've never known quite who my employers were, working through a third party, as it were. But it occurs to me that perhaps we came at summer when it was winter who had crossed us all. For were you not investigating disappearances? And were people not disappearing at the circus? It seems as though if Dr. Brown is to be believed at all, is that summer wishes to maintain some sort of status quo. And winter, and he holds up the ring and sort of like shudders slightly as he looks at it distastefully. And winter wished this to change things. Now, I would not trust any of these beings, but it seems to me that perhaps humanity is but a pawn between these two courts, but our grievances are all with winter at the moment. Does this seem... I don't know, I'm not the analyst, Chewie, of course.
Winter's in, they've been disappearing people, or replacing them, or changing them. Hard to tell exactly, but they're all equally reprehensible.
I think we did talk about changing, that people who'd been through Mercurio's act,
yes,
then changed and often then went missing.
Yes, which means that they've either been altered or they were replaced by people who were then told that their job was to cut ties with anybody that they knew closely, so as to be able to to maintain an imposter.
Yes, but
because in every case they've divorced or had or disowned their children, run away from home, etc.
They've cut away those ever so tight bonds of family that I understand are so important to some people. But I suppose my point is, and meta-wise, I'm trying to just wrap this up to an actionable thing for our last session, right?
We have to go.
Which is I'm proposing that our angle is pursue the mirror, winter. Go straight for the throat, as it were, of one side of this dual conspiracy, so that we are at least left, because they seem to be the ones that have aggrieved us, right? We haven't fleshed out enough to know that who's aggrieved us in either situation, right? But I would aim to point towards winter, because we have more actionable stuff at winter. And then, summer is our enemy of my enemy situation. And we already have an asset in that field. And obviously Mother may not approve of such things, but we have her daughter in our pocket and she doesn't want Mother to know. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'm flashing back to our around the table discussions in Night's Black Agents, where we try and work out who the hell are we actually going to go after and why.
Winter is the target.
Okay, winter is the target.
No question. Winter, I'm not sure that we know enough actually to strike against her, but we can strike against her organization. And the best way to do that is to achieve surprise, and the best way to do that is to go right to the heart.
Well, I gesture over to the mirror. This is what Mr. Savory was supposed to use to meet the mistress.
Yes.
Perhaps we can do the same.
Andy, what are you thinking as this conversation unfolds?
Yeah, I think Andy kind of, leans forward a bit and says, "You've had perhaps more dealings with these people than the rest of us. What do you think is likely to be waiting for us on the other side?
Something wonderful, I imagine. Of course, before we go in, we could be prepared. We could find, surely Dr. Brown would know more, perhaps others, and my own mentor himself may, there's perhaps connections.
I mean, just mechanically, remember that you will each get an investigative scene in which you could try to find out if you can fictionally position it with someone who could possibly have an answer to the kind of questions you've got. Yeah. But then you also have the intel resource that you can use to add details.
But we would probably do that after framing an objective. Is that
Indeed.
Yes?
Indeed.
So
indeed, you need to know what you're asking questions about before you start asking random questions.
Right.
Yeah.
My proposal for an objective is, let's last session. Let's start where we get high in our expectations. Right? Is neutralize winter, which I'm taking as a top level one, right? On the expectation of it having it being bargained down as we encounter the difficulties, right? Like disrupt winter versus reach an accord or whatever, right? Like, but aim big, or this is the goal of our whole mission, right? Is to do something to take down this conspiracy, and this is it.
Not burn out the circus, neutralize winter. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, before you get too deeply into that, mull it over, because you do need to have an opportunity for a bit of downtime, during which you could conceivably seek some relief from the horror.
Yeah, so this is during downtime. Reduce stress. So we spend intel to do that, don't we? Yes.
You could spend intel, but you could each, frame a seek relief from the horror move scene. Andy, are you interested in reducing your stress? Seek relief?
I absolutely am. I'm just having a quick flick through the different options to see which I want to go for.
There's one really painless one.
Painless.
To you.
That is, yes. Take your anchor and.
Oh, look, there's a bus. Let me put my anchor under a bus.
Yep. Yeah, go on. I will seek solace in a relationship. So I think this is just as simple as we see Andy's obviously popped back to his house at some point during the couple of days, and as he's coming out, he sees he kind of bumps into I've lost the name.
Jamie,
that's it. Who's kind of just hanging out on the street. I think it's actually kind of not late at night, but it's definitely the sun's gone down, sort of thing. We I think we just sort of see for a moment, just kind of Andy kind of passes him by and kind of nods at him in that sort of way, you know, just acknowledge someone that looks like has kind of walked past, but a few minutes later he sort of comes back out of his house with a like a you know, mug of tea and like a thing of food, and just and you know, hands them over to him, and just sort of says, if you need, I can lend you the money for a couple of nights in a hostel or whatever. It's not a good time to be out in the streets.
That will do nicely. Reduce your stress by 1. I'll mark Jamie as now a conspiracy target because he's associated with you. And roll a d6 because the outcome is going to be the same unless you roll a 6.
Sure thing. 5 almost.
C'est la vie. Let's move back the other way then. Let's go to Chewy. Chewy, how do you want to seek relief from the horror? And if so, what do you want? How do you want to be seen doing so?
The answer is yes. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go big or not. It worked out so well last time.
I mean, I know what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
No, he wants to shoot somebody. But let me stick with Chewy for a
Sure.
moment.
Oh, is that what relaxes?
No. I just thought if you were still searching, I could go. But if you go for it.
I was just wondering if that's what relaxes Mark. You know, the recreationally shooting people.
Recreational murder is high on his list of vices.
Doesn't have to be murder. It might just be kneecapping. Yeah. Okay. You know, this is our last session. I'm going to go all in. I think I'm going to get together with Rosa, and there's something, and she's different.
So, are you behaving badly, indulging a vice, or are you telling us something more about your relationship with Rosa? I'm just trying to pin down which move I'm looking at.
Oh, what I'm saying is that Rosa's gone the equivalent of missing.
Okay, so you are so tell us something else about your relationship with Rosa then. Reduce the stress by 1. Tell us something about that, and then I will mark her as missing.
So the relationship with her is has has always been a friendly one. She's generally confided in me about things. The disappearance of her father brought us closer together. And we have a regular get-together to have coffee at a little cafe near to where she works.
Fine.
Once a week.
And so what I would suggest is that we see you sitting in that coffee shop, looking anxiously at your phone as she doesn't reply to the message, asking, "Where are you? I thought we were meeting at 2." And I will mark her missing, ask you to roll a dice in case it's a 6.
Yes, one thing I was suggesting as a possibility, which of course you don't have to take, was that she makes the meeting, and we have a horrible, pointless argument.
Okay, yeah, and then she walks away.
And then she walks away.
Fine.
She basically says, I can't believe you did that thing at the circus. I'm never going to speak. I'm never going to speak to you again.
And we will then have a series. Throughout the next section of the plot, you will be regularly trying to contact her.
Right.
It's always going to voicemail or she's not replying to messages. Missing is simply out of touch. You don't know where she is.
Yes, but this is. I just figured this is more poignant.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay,
I've reduced your stress by 1. Roll a dice.
And I didn't get a 6, so
fine. So it just goes down by 1. Okay, the one we've all been kind of waiting for, Mark. What do we see Mark doing to seek relief from the horror?
Oh, well, I think this is, I just wanted to seek solace and comradeship. I don't know, everyone jumped to that. I wanted to explore something new about my history with an operator I care least about, which is Chewie, not a professional. And I think that this is, well, I think I'd like to talk to you about your family, right? And your missing partner. Because I think this is even your daughter being there at the thing, and Mark was one step away from blowing the whole thing wide open before you intervened finally, right?
Yes.
If you remember last time. So Mark, I think is it's rather bad form to bring someone you care about to one of these things, Chewie.
Before you answer that, Chewie, I would suggest that that Mark rolls the d6 to reduce stress by 1. Mark, roll the d6 and let's see what help the move can give us in terms of Chewie's reaction.
As a 4. They roll for stress as they recollect a slightly different version of the event and agree with them where they feel so hurt about it. So I'm think about it. I'm happy to reframe that as like a conversation about perhaps like you've got pictures of your missing partner, right? Like up on our conspiracy board of people that Andy's been searching for and so on. Does that make sense? And this is like our initial conversation about like, what family, like why you should never mix, your personal life with your professional life.
If I had mixed my personal life with my professional life, I would have been with her. I didn't intend that she was there, and wait a moment. I would have done anything to dissuade her from getting involved in that, and I did at the last moment.
Yes, the last moment.
Yes, well, that was the moment I had.
Yes, true. I'm just wondering, Brendan, are you going to roll for stress, or are you going to mark your anchor? Because that's the 2 consequences on a plus.
I know that. That's
right.
Yeah,
I just was wondering because I'm very nervous about that second choice.
And I went, wait a moment. Oh my God. I say, I flip open my phone and I shout you. And I went, they've got her.
And that, of course, is when the phone rings and the friend that she was at the circus with rings you and says,
yes,
Mrs. Ramirez, or whatever name she knows you as, I'm a bit worried about Rosa. She said things were a bit hairy and could she come and stay with me? And she has for the last couple of days. I know you've been trying to get in touch, but is she with you? Because she hasn't come home tonight. And I will mark Rosa as taken. Easy peasy.
Yeah, definitely. You know, in the scenes that we don't see, Mark's response would have been to look rather embarrassed by what's just happened, and just be like, well, sometimes your personal life does intrude upon your professional rather than the other way around.
So Mark loses a point of stress, goes down to 3, and Chewie loses a daughter until such time as you can perhaps get her back if you can find out where she is. So I mean, that opens a slightly different box, I would suggest, in terms of whether you now want to stage an operation to find and recover Rosa. I just want to put that on the table because she is now in the hands of some faction of the conspiracy. You don't even know which one. I'll let you mull over that one. Everyone's down at 3 stress. I am prepared to allow a second seek relief from the horror if you want to just stretch the interval between now and the next op. Or do we feel that stakes are sufficiently high? I don't know. What about Andy?
I am happy for us to move into the op. I can probably come up with another interlude scene if people want to do more, but I'm good with jumping into the op at the moment.
Fine. Mark?
I'm just going to spend an intel to burn a stress.
Okay, because that is an option open to you.
Yeah.
As long as you have some intel, Andy, sadly. And Chewie, what about you? Do you want to burn any intel to just get a grip on yourself? If that were possible.
No. I want intel in order to take at least one of these horrors down.
Okay.
Or at least blow their operation to kingdom come.
Okay. So
if I can't do that.
So we are starting with the idea of neutralizing winter. Yeah. So let me go to Mark and ask Mark, who or what is the focus of the operation?
On Operation 3, yes. Who or what is the focus of the operation? I think that the focus of the operation is the Queen of Winter, the Mistress of Winter. I actually I think that it is Rosita.
Okay.
I prefer the, like narratively speaking, I much prefer the idea of we rescue Rosita rather than I like rescuing people. Mark doesn't, but I like rescuing people.
Okay. Then we don't have a category for family member, particularly, but just put Rosa in that slot, and we'll flesh that out a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if that might be represented in that drop-down box as victim.
Yes, good plan.
Yeah,
good plan. Let's go to Chewie. Where do you think you're going to have to go to rescue Rosa? That table on the right-hand side there.
Oh, if I have to use the table on the right-hand side, then I'll pick far away.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to say. It is meant to be very broad. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to, well, let's see. It's meant to be very broad. So let's see. It would either be,
I will admit I have deliberately framed Mistress Winter as a 1980s corporate executive, just to give you as much elbow room as you can.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say high society.
Okay.
Because I think that's where she belongs to. And these are.
And do you want to?
Not necessarily high society in this plane of existence.
I'll stick with high society then. Just put high society in that box. While I ask Andy, who you think the most likely, though probably not the only Fae conspiracy threat is going to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think.
I mean, I think that I would probably have to enforce a minimum of at least occultists and above.
Yeah, no, I was deciding between Fae servitors and the actual true Fae themselves. So yeah, I think I'm going to say it's yeah, I think it's got to be true Fae. Honestly,
I mean, I can always up the ante as a complication, so don't feel obliged to go all the way up.
Am I wrong in thinking that Greater Fae would be below Mistress Winter? Right, so there's still an extra notch on that. Yeah, that's going to go up.
I actually tell you what. Yeah, I'll say I think in terms of because what we're specifically going for here is rescuing Rosa in the first instance. I'll say Fae servitors are the kind of entry level thing that we're up against.
Fine. And hopefully you won't attract the attention of any of the 3 levels of true Fae that the rules contain.
Indeed.
So hit the drop box, select a servitor, and let me go back round to Mark. I can't even remember what the options are for what these Fae servitors may be doing or planning to do. But can you find anything down there that sparks your imagination? I think they're guarding Rosa, but I can't remember what's in that list.
Defending their territory, controlling or dominating, tormenting mortals. Yeah, I think it's tormenting mortals, isn't it? Yeah,
that's under servitors.
Yeah, Fae servitors.
Yeah, under true Fae.
Oh, that's under true Fae. Sorry, yes. So tempting, establishing control over mortals.
There you go. There you go.
Or manipulating an unknown mortal victim. Okay, let's go with establishing control.
Okay.
That cuts straight through both those.
It feels a bit more direct than manipulating them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our broad setup. Let me go along to Chewy and say, Chewy, do you want to frame an investigative scene?
I do. My inclination is to, Chewy's inclination is to want to do a scout through the mirror.
Okay. So tell me what we see on screen, I guess.
So she is going to go into
the objective of this is to add some detail that will either give you a better idea of what you might be facing,
yes,
or allow you to have narrative positioning to allow you to create some details using your intel, for instance.
Yes, so she would be in full blackout gear.
Okay.
And pick. She doesn't know if it's night there when it's night here, but it's.
Oh, hang on. You're not going to be able to intrude faery.
Okay.
You will enter faery in the op if that's the plan.
Okay. Well then I think Did so I guess she's got to pull together data then, because there's not a target of intrusion. No, that's not true. There's the circus.
There is the circus.
Okay, there's the circus, and particularly there's the chair and Mercurial.
Okay.
So she is going to pay them a
Covert visit.
a 3 o'clock in the morning visit and plant bugs.
Okay. Okay. So let's have you roll to investigate with intrusion. You have access to your expertise. So you're rolling the middle dice, the orange dice. Would you like to include the stress dice?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, but so I got a 4.
Okay, so you settle for that. So
yes,
on a 4, you get the basic amount of information you need, which is I'm going to give you the power to open the portal. Okay, what you find when you listen to the bugs is Mercurio talking to the ringmaster, and the conversation is along the lines of, "What the fuck do you mean it's gone?" And well, what do you expect to tell her? Well, he says, "Well, you'll have to just enchant another one." Oh yeah, that's easy. That's easy. You know that I'm going to need. You know, the only way through that fucking thing is at midnight in a full moon, when you're in the middle of a fairy circle. Okay, so now I have to recreate all of that in order to open a portal, and then hope she doesn't notice it's a different one. Give me a fucking break. And you're telling me lots of them got smashed, but not the one that mattered. So mechanically, you now know the circumstances for opening the portal. Okay. You were going to need a fairy ring and a certain time slot. Yeah. So if you want to add that to wherever you can find a bit of space on that operation sheet, and then I'm going to come back to you, because you also have one question to ask or one fact to declare. And let me go along to Andy. Andy, how do we see you investigating, trying to set this up?
Yeah, I think we see Andy at. I think he's in the like one of the houses at the botanical gardens, and sort of stood under like some sort of date palm when sorry, I'm blanking on names again. Dr. Brown, indeed, yes. Sort of does that, like not quite walking up to him, but just sort of standing next to him as they're both kind of like looking at a little fountain or something.
Two plants at 30-degree angles,
yeah,
but yet having that conversation that we know they're having. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And is this what's the approach you take? Because you've got good cop and bad cop in your skill set, haven't you?
I think this is probably more on the good cop side of things. So I think we, as she comes up, and they get past the initial pleasantries. Andy says, "Look, we're going to be running an op against your rivals now. I don't know exactly what's going to come of this, but I'm pretty sure that it will at least provide a bit of a distraction from whatever it is that's going on between your lot and them. What we could do with is knowing something that will give us a bit of an edge against her, at least a fighting chance. I know the odds aren't exactly going to be in our favour.
And there's a kind of pause, as though she was processing one thing, and she says, "You're going there," and she all pretense at facing. She's going, "You're going to fucking winter. Are you insane? You want to enter an alternative reality? Oh shit, you're not taking the ring with you, are you?"
It might not be a good idea, I suppose.
So look, the basic information is that you cannot rely on the laws of physics, right? But let's have you roll with your expertise. Include the stress dice if you'd like to, just to see where else this conversation might go.
Sure thing. I don't think I am going to include the stress die at the moment, because my stress is already, getting there. So that's a 5.
That's a 5. So so I think make a note somewhere on the operation sheet that the laws of physics may not work the way that you expect, and certainly, she says, don't expect a gun to work. So that's your basic information. I'll come back to you, back to Andy, for another question or a fact in a moment. Let's go round to Mark. Mark, how do we see you setting this up, or trying to set it up?
Oh, I think I go speak to dear Reece.
Reece Gattis.
Yes, my mentor, a former assassin with a penchant for sniping.
Yes, and he's really kind of snippy with you.
Yes, and he's also, never made it much thought before, but he used to refer to when he worked for the mistress back in the day.
Okay. So I think, are you going to be you, or are you pretending to be somebody else?
Oh no, I'm Reece would recognize me at any point.
Fine. So I think if you had access to your expertise, larceny would be appropriate. But as you don't currently, because you're still carrying that bloody ring.
Mm-hmm.
And Reece will say, "I say, old chap, are you all right? You look a little pale." Or should I say a little paler? Where do you meet? I'm curious where Reece hangs out.
I think that Reece is rather old, right? He's like, it's basically Mark Gattis if he was, when he's playing like an older gentleman kind of thing. And I'm imagining him a very British public school type person, sat in front of a roaring fireplace at some, like Cotswold Cottage, or maybe in the Scottish Highlands or something,
Okay.
Yeah.
Scottish Highlands, I'm seeing tartan wingback chairs.
Yes, indeed. And, Reece...
a local Scotch.
Yes, of course, both on the table, and him peering over at me with the fire reflecting his eyes and going, "You all right, dear boy? You seem rather pale." Yes.
What can I do for you?
Reece, the job's been interesting, as always, but I put out my hand, we don't get to choose our masters or our mistresses.
And you show him the ring.
And I show him, I'm leaning back, stretching my hand out, and examining it and twisting it in the fire, looking at the reflections off this dull metal that it's made out of.
And I suppose I need to know, before I know what his response is, what are you aiming to find out?
The thing that I am aiming to find out is, I think, what does the Court of Winter look like? Okay.
Well, let's see how this conversation goes then. You're rolling just the middle dice, one dice, unless you include the stress dice.
Of course, I include stress dice. Silly question. And, the fictional position I'm going for this is that Reece worked for them in the past. Perhaps he had a closer relationship than I do with them, you know.
We'll
Perhaps.
discover in a moment, indeed.
That is a 6 on my normal dice.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I'll mark intel.
Mark intel.
Mm-hmm.
The basic information you have is that, look, dear boy, if you're entirely certain about this, I can't imagine. Look, I know that you took a bit of umbrage when some things went a little awry for you. But are you sure you want to get this deep into the people connected to that ring? Because I really am concerned if that's the case. The people,
you see a job through to the end, Reece. Of course.
What he will tell you is that the people you are seeking to engage with, he won't be any more specific than that at this point, they are a little bit stuck in the past. And I think what I'm hinting at here is that you need to expect to be in the 1980s.
So excited about that.
And he says, and you also need to understand that the world of the 1980s was if anything rather more bluntly cutthroat than we know now. That's the basic information you get. I will come back to you for two questions as we carry on going around the table. And you are also going to owe me a roll for stress on that 6. So let's go round to Chewy. Chewy, do you want to tell me something else you find out? Or do you want to ask me a question?
I think I'm going to tell you something that that I found out, which is at the next midnight full moon time when the portal can be opened, Winter is having a huge essentially a celebration.
Okay.
With lots of strangers that that they don't personally know.
I think that perhaps you hear Mercurio and the Ringmaster say that they'll need to get the portal open because of the invitation they have next full moon.
Right.
So I'm going to suggest that Mercurio and the Ringmaster will be on site. Yeah. And I'm also going to suggest that means that you have a fairy circle in mind. Now, I'm going to leave it to you lot to decide whether you want to intervene before they open a portal to stop them opening a portal and then go through, or whether you want to go through before them or after them. I'm going to leave that to you lot to think about. But right now, the intention is for them to enter, and this is a portal on Hampstead Heath. It's a fairy circle on Hampstead Heath. So they're going to be heading south. Yeah. And that's your last question done. Because you will need to find a fairy circle otherwise, so I've given you one. Let me go.
Can I just clarify a detail around? So we have the mirror.
You have a mirror.
But we still require the midnight in a fairy circle.
Yes. Okay,
cool. So like we know when they're going to do it, but obviously, presumably, midnight in a full moon means that it doesn't matter. We're definitely going through at the same time if we're not intervening with them.
Oh,
because there's only the first midnight in a full moon is coming up, right? Like
it is.
Yeah.
I suppose what I'm trying to get around, what I want to put in your heads is this gives you the information to intervene and stop them joining.
Yes. Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wasn't clear if the mirror, like if they were recreating a mirror that we, like a means that we already had kind of thing.
Yeah. We can. In other words, we can try to stop them and then take their tickets.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Let's go to Andy next. What else do you want to ask me or declare to be true given where our fictional positioning is at the moment with Dr. Brown? for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think actually, yeah, just what I want from Dr. Brown is just some more general information on how to deal with winter.
Okay. Bronze. You need bronze-edged weapons. If you, she says, please let me convince you that this is not only dangerous but stupid. Give me the ring before you go, at least, so I can secure it from winter.
I'll see what I can do on that front.
So in effect, what I've done is to give you a vulnerability for Fae servitors and true Fae, which is bronze. So you can update the creature sheet, if you like, the creature tab, to include that. Let's go round to Mark. You have 2 questions or 2 pieces of information and a roll for stress.
So I rolled for stress and I failed, so I got a 3.
Okay.
And I think so I can use the questions to add information.
You can either ask me a question and I'll give you an answer, or you can add detail. You could ask the question and have the answer if you want it.
I would like for Reece to tell me something about this ring that I'm carrying, and I think it is that the ring breaks all oaths other than those sworn upon it, and that's why the Winter Queen wants it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense in the trying to deal with the Fae kind of bonds and steals and stuff? Yeah.
I'm sure that'll have some horrible consequences when time comes, but I'll work those out when they happen.
Yeah. So I'll just write that one down. The ring breaks all oaths and bonds, but those sworn upon it, which is why it has such power over the Fae and their servitors and stuff who are all bond together, and why it's it unnerves you is because it breaks your bond with, your life beforehand.
Fair enough. Now, I just will remind all of you that if you are serious about finding bronze weapons, you will need to either spend some intel to find something or call on a contact. Just think about that. But you have 1 question or one detail to add, Mark.
I mean, it's kind of a detail as well. I want to just say, as he's talking about the 80s, like the camera, when we start to hear the do 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 like fading in as like the techno comes in, and he says, "Don't suppose you have any of your old gear from those days, do you, old boy?"
And his eyes will drift to a bronze-bladed kukri mounted on the wall.
Oh, I was specifically hoping for that, and some 1980s like equipment.
I'm told I don't quite know where you're going.
Well, because we know that it's going to be like the 80s through there, right? So like, if we dress up as 2000s people, it's going to look weird when we're in there, right? And we're also going to look weird. So I like the idea of him having a bronze something in there, but like also the fact that like we're now bedecked in Reece's like 1980s, and when we mark equipment, we're probably going to be pulling out like the 1980s version of that, because the detail I'd like to add is that things that aren't from the right time don't work properly there.
Okay. Well, I think everything will look like the 1980s no matter what it is.
Yeah.
But yes, okay. That seems to me to be a nice fictional bit of chrome. If you want something that I think the kukri is probably more.
The kukri's the kukri's fine. Yeah, the kukri's fine. We have all the 80s stuff, and I'm like holding up like shoulder padded jackets and things like that, and then he goes, Oh yes, and this. Shink. Like, yeah.
Fine. Now, I'm going to suggest at that point that we take a 10-minute break. If we're back at 20 past the hour, just mull over whether you want to spend any intel declaring any obstacles for this op by spending intel, or anything else you want to spend intel on. But other than that, I will pause the recording. Okay, we're back from that break. Zoom has told us we're being recorded. Good. I do want to just go around the table once and see if anyone wants to spend any intel to define a particular obstacle that they would look cool overcoming. Let me start on the left-hand side with Mark. You still have a couple of intel, I think.
Yeah.
Or do you want to hold it in reserve?
Yeah. I'm struggling to think, because I feel like a hitman's a kind of one-note character when it comes to cool things that you can overcome. You know, I've already done that.
Yeah, fine. I mean, it does, you do have more expertise, inverted commas, fictional positioning for expertise than just killing things. Remember, you do have your disguise gig, but
yeah, you know what? This will require passing myself as a courtier, a fey courtier.
Okay. So write that into your obstacle then. I will have to pass myself off as a fey courtier. Chewy, you also have some intel to spend, I think, if you want to. Do you want to spend any intel to define an obstacle that you would look cool overcoming during the op?
I think
I mean, you don't have to define rescuing Rosa. With that is our core option. Just to be clear.
I understand. And this is in lieu of an obstacle that you come up with, yes?
Yes, I have one obstacle per operator to play with. If you define them, I have less scope to mess with you.
Right. So I think the one that I was going to plump for before, I think I'll just bring it forward, which is that I think that I would like to be put in the position of overcoming a mental compulsion that they protect themselves with.
The only thing I will say there is that the way that you would overcome mesmerism would be a stress roll. So it's not an action that you have very much control over.
Okay, well then that's not interesting.
I mean,
overcoming Rosita's mesmerism?
I was going to say, it could be convincing Rosa that you are who you say you are.
Or you have two people who are missing in your life.
Oh, that's true. There's DLM, isn't it?
Yes. But priorities.
The assumption is that it's something related to your skill set, because that will increase your chance of doing it.
Well, I mean, basically, the finding where they keep the hostages, victims, or whatever we may wish to call them.
That's an outcome, but what do you want to be seen doing that will make you look cool?
Climbing down the side of a castle wall.
Okay, climbing down something. Let's leave it as broad as that.
Yes.
Yeah. So put that in your obstacle. That leaves me, Andy. Sadly, you have no intel to spend. You've been remarkably unlucky, or lucky. I don't know. There's no rolls for stress for you.
Decidedly average, I'd say. I think with most of my dice rolls, which is is fine. It's fine.
It's where the sweet spot often is. So right, I have but one complication to play with. gee, guys, spoil my night out. So let's cut to a fairy circle on Hampstead Heath. Do you want to be there before our friends, the Ringmaster and Mercurio, or do you want to observe them, or do you want to have nothing to do with them? Andy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question. My inclination would be to get there before them and sort of get in before they do. But if people are more interested in having some sort of confrontation or other dealings with them, that's also cool. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I will have also passed on the thing about maybe taking the ring into winter isn't a great idea to Mark, but I'm also not gonna press the issue on that.
But if we leave it here, then it is all for the taking. Clearly, the only way to keep it safe is to keep it with one of us. Now,
I want to put this, Andy. You don't want to verbally abuse Mark over his just rash activities on the way to seeking relief from the horror, do you?
Ooh.
I mean, I will verbally abuse Andy if he doesn't. Now that you put that idea in my head,
it can bite you on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, you know, if a fictional position presents itself, I would be remiss not to point it out.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Andy will say, "Look, I know you can handle yourself, but if Winter get their hands on that, that'll be a it'll be a win for them, won't it? So
go on, call me your frozen face psychopath. They get their hands on that, like, yeah.
That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Roll it, reduce stress by 1, Andy, and roll a d6.
Sure. So I lost my tab. There we go. That is a 3.
1 to 3. That was a pretty inadequate assault. It's clear. Your inadequacy is clear to everyone. The other person pities you, and you are ashamed by your lack of impact.
And I think
that's fair.
I think that.
Well,
Mark...
hang on. Let me finish. So Andy, you cannot use your expertise until stress goes up again. But stress went down, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Will.
And you know, you say that about, like, you know, you can handle yourself, but you know, like, we don't know what's going in there and everything. And Mark just smiles and says, puts his hand on top of Andy's and pats it, like, very, very friendly, you know, and says, "Don't worry, Mr. Lamb, I'll take care of you."
Oh, you patronizing bastard.
Yeah.
Reduce stress by 1, roll 1d6.
Oh yeah, I can do that, can't I? Yes.
Oh, that works.
Yeah, but I mean,
can't use your expertise.
I can't use my
anyway.
expertise anyways, but I guess Andy doesn't take that to heart and just goes like, "You smug bastard."
Yeah, this is why nobody likes him.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I want to just check is I think I've pre-selected light loaded for you, because you are. The sense I got was that at least Mark is going to be pretending to be somebody else. Andy, do you want to be carrying anything more than a dinner jacket?
I think that light load is probably good for me as well. Honestly, we've been told that most technology and stuff won't work here anyway, so it seems like there's a limited amount of useful kit to be dragging along.
So Mark, I'm assuming that you are marking machete is the nearest thing I have to offer you to a cookery, and marking a slot to take it. Chewy, what about you?
Yeah, lightly loaded.
Fine. Then, quite why Reece Gattis had a rah-rah skirt is unclear. But you look good in it, Chewy.
Is a rah-rah skirt an 80s thing?
Oh yeah, early 80s.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Just in terms of our plan, Andy discussed arriving before them and possibly going through before them.
Or do we want to take them out and go through instead?
Oh, that would be my proposal. Is that Mr. Mercurio had a rather distinctive way of dressing, as did his friends, and they're expecting some people to go through. Why, in my experience, the best disguise is the one that they want to see. Plus, it will mean that we don't have any more complications to deal with once we're in there. And who knows? He knows the way to open the portal. Why don't we let him do the hard work and then simply step in?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is a moonlit night on Hampstead Heath. I'm seeing them laying a circular mirror on the ground. And I'm seeing Mercurio and the ringmaster engaging in a ritual to open this portal as the moon reflects off the glass, and then the reflection disappears as though it's now the light is passing through the portal. Mark, this was your idea. Where are you when that happens?
Part of me is like sitting with a sniper rifle on a grassy knoll, and then the other part of me is like dressed as PC Curtis, who is like, "Oh, Hampstead Heath, are we at Tory MP? Yeah, just calm down, lads. It's not that type of thing going on here." And getting in close, and then I think the latter's more fun, frankly.
And Andy, what about you? Are you going to watch this or take part or what?
Mark definitely would like you to take part in this because you can sell it. You used to be a copper.
Yep. No, that's cool. I'm good with that.
So an off-duty policeman in a suit, and so two off-duty policemen in suits. I'm seeing. Chewy, where are you when this is going on? Three off-duty policemen begins to look a bit suspicious as you approach.
Can I suggest that instead we
hang on, let's ask Chewy first. Then if they want a suggestion, they can come to you.
Yeah, but we're not off-duty. I'm going to suggest is our costume. A big policeman's coat over the top.
Yeah, your difficulty is you're getting into disguise then. I think you're just walking up to them and gonna have a go. I don't, because you're only light loaded. I don't want to screw you for more disguise kits.
Dump it when I got there.
Chewy.
Just in case this doesn't go the way it ought to, I'm going to have a bug there, and I'm going to be recording their ritual.
Okay, so
or a parabolic microphone.
You've all got those little earpieces, so you can hear what's going on in the vicinity of the others, and you can record that straight to your phone. That's fine. Yeah. So I think we'll start with Andy then, because he does know how to do this. You've been on that training course, Andy. Accosting men in parks at night. So it was part of training at Hendon when he went through. So you would be rolling with expertise if you had any available to you at the moment. You're still a bit rattled by what Mark said to you earlier. Do you want to include your stress dice?
Yes, I will include my stress die.
This is the point where you want that stress die to come up high, don't you?
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's going to be sort of coming in with the torch already on, sort of shining, very much shining it in their eyes. To sort of dazzle and distract them as it comes in and says, All right, boys. I don't know what we've got going on here, but wrap it up. Come on, let's move along. And
Lovely.
let's see, that is a 4, and that is on the stress die.
So stress goes up by 1. Your expertise is now available, and they are sufficiently shaken not to do anything until each of you has done something. So let me go to Mark. Mark, what are you doing?
Handcuffing them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're going to grapple with one of them if necessary.
I think that it's a case of like, now look, lads, we can clear all this up. Come on, put your hands out. We'll get it all sorted. And then like, my plan is to, rather than do the I kill everybody, it's just to leave some naked men in their underwear on the Hampstead Heath as we go in. Because that seems funnier.
Okay, so this is confront the conspiracy to subdue.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Fine, go ahead. So expertise would apply if you had any. But of course, your bonus. No, that's right. You just get to roll a single dice again, don't you? Gee
yes,
whiz.
of course. The experience so far, and of course I put in my stress die.
Of course you do. That's a 5.
It's a 5.
One of them is subdued. You have. Let's say you have. Well, which one do you want? Which one did you think was the highest risk?
I mean, I guess there's Mercurio and a couple of like, roadie type people.
No,
like,
it's the Ringmaster and Mercurio.
Oh, the Ringmaster and Mercurio. I think it was whoever we heard talking about doing the ritual on the thing, which I think was Mercurio, right?
Which was Mercurio. Fine.
Yeah.
So you subdue Mercurio.
I think as I do it, I'm going like, "Here, ain't you Mercurio? I saw your show not a couple years back. Oh, magic it was. Don't worry, we'll have you out of this in a minute."
Andy, you have your expertise to manhandle the Ringmaster, to subdue or drive off or what?
Subdue as well, I think. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
So
that
you're
seems like
rolling with expertise, stress die if you want to use it.
I'm not at the moment. I think I'm going to. Ooh.
Oh, will you look at that? If only 2 6s were worth more. Well, look, mark intel, because obviously you let something slip that's going to be useful to you later on. But on a 6, it goes brilliantly. What additional benefit do you get?
I think it's he kind of gets him into the arm lock, gets the handcuffs on, and I think he quickly, he sort of does the quick frisk just as much out of habit as anything else, and pulls out the invitation.
I'm going to suggest that they are both wearing pendants.
Yeah.
What they look like little chips of ice.
Cool.
On a chain. Yeah, very cool. And so 2 of you have inverted commas invitations. Chewie, that went like clockwork, and within minutes they are stripped naked. And which one of you is dressed as Mercurio? And which one of you is dressed as the Ringmaster, if that's the way this is going?
You have a preference, Andy?
So it remind me again, does Mercurio wear a mask? I couldn't remember if that was
the masked marksman or whatever it was.
Right, that was what I was confusing it with. Then
I'm going to suggest that Mercurio wears a lot of makeup.
I was going to say, I think if you sort of identified Mercurio as possibly being the one who's more in the know, then it probably makes sense for Mark to do that, as he's actually good at the whole being in disco.
I am equally as bad as everyone else.
I mean,
in meta terms, but yes.
That is true. But yeah, in fictional terms, this is more Mark's. Yeah, exactly.
And the Ringmaster does come with a rather nice top hat that you can keep kind of, brow down, rim down. Brim down. So what happens next then? Because there's this mirror flat on the ground. It's about 3 feet across.
Well, I
Seems
think
to be showing a winter scene on the other side.
I think we take Mercurio and the ringmaster, and you know, it's just like when we were stripping him down, it was like, yeah, just come into the van now. Don't worry about it, son. We'll get it all sorted. Get these off your. And then it just opens up, and it's just our crappy white van rather than a police van. And we're like, yeah, no worries. No one will find you in here for a while now. Kick him in, close the door. Yeah, but I mean, I will. I think Mercurio's got like a stylish, like more like Dios de los Muertos hat, you know, like a sort of all kind of patterns, and that's what his makeup is as well, right? It's all like things, and he's clearly like came dressed for an occasion here. And I sweep the hat, bow, and say, "Well, it's time to enter the doorway into winter.
It's showtime."
Yes.
Jesusita has to get in a dig against these two. We're not going to do them any harm. But as they're getting shoved into the van, she'll say, "I'd hate to be you when you don't show up." And then slam the van door on them.
Was that verbally abusing a non-player character? I heard then. Chewie? I just
yes,
curious.
Yes, it probably was.
Okay, reduce stress by 1 and roll a d6, please.
One dice.
Oh, they're all coming up down there.
Everything's coming up like
yeah,
roses.
You feel that was really not a professional thing to do. So you cannot use your expertise till your stress goes up again. You are muted, Mark.
I'm just saying no one can use their expertise as we walk into winter.
Oh no, Andy can.
Yeah, I recovered. I recovered
yes,
mine. Yeah.
So let's. I'm going to suggest Mark goes first, given his disguise is more likely, fictionally, to work. So you just. It looks like you're looking down. You're looking up into a winter scene. It's like you're staring up at the sky, winter sky, as you look through this. So what do you do? Just walk into it, walk onto it.
Hitch up the jacket, realize why they wore their thermals, and I look around and I don't see anybody there, but there is I put a hand back through the mirror, I think, to help my companions through.
So you just step in. I'll describe what it.
Yeah.
All you can see is a sky when you look from this side. You step onto the mirror and through the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Who goes next? Andy, are you going to go with a +1 or?
I'm going next.
Okay.
And
Chewie goes through. Andy, you going to follow? Or are you going to wait for any signal from the other side, or just step in, Andy?
I'm going to maybe wait like a couple of beats, but not like long. I just essentially, I'm not quite sure it's going to be there on the other side, so I'm just giving them a moment to clear the other side as needed, kind of thing, before I try and follow through.
There's a moment where Andy looks around, pulls out his vape, goes, this steps in.
Okay, so Mark, you went through first, followed by Chewie, followed by Andy. There wasn't much of a gap between you and Chewie, so you will appear almost together. And I think the assumption will be that you are a pair.
Yes, as Chewie walks in, I will extend my hand and like link kind of thing.
Yes.
And standing on the other side is an angular ice sculpture.
I tentative. I like for a pause for a second, and then I bow deeply to the ice sculpture, and I say, like with a sort of slightly hesitant tone, like, greetings.
Let's have you roll to maintain your cover, Mark, using, it would be disguise if it mattered.
Yes, and of course I will include my stress die. Oh, that is only a 3.
Okay, 1 to 3, you're blown. Mark heat and choose to either get caught or flee for your life.
I am going to call in a contact.
Okay, so I'm curious about this one. Go for it. Mark stress and tell me about this
Yes.
contact.
Yes, this contact is a watcher.
A watcher.
Yeah.
I was certain you'd go librarian. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you know what? Librarian's a good one. I hadn't thought about that one. Librarian is
They can tell you about weird shit.
yeah, and that is Mrs. Blake. Yes, you get the quote, you get the reference. Who runs a collection of great of FAE lore and esoterica. Niche have it, but Mr. Gattis told me about her collection, said I should take a look, and it has prepared me for some level of things in here, right? Like fairy tales and stuff,
Okay, so what that will earn you is a re-roll. You can't re-roll in this game unless you call in a contact and have positioning. So I think you start. That's where you start, and then you think about what Mrs. Blake told you. Did you mark stress? Did I tell you?
I did mark stress, so I'll
you
roll
can
again.
roll those 2 dice again.
Oh my god, that's even worse. That's a 1 on a 1.
Oh God.
That was a pointless use of the thing. Okay, I'm blown.
Ooh, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have an option. You are blown mark heat. I'll do that for you. And you can decide whether you want to get caught or you want to flee for your life.
I'm just trying to think of ways to put Chewie in a better position. Which one's better for me to get caught and you to run, or just to run?
I mean, if you run, if it pursues, that might put Chewie in a better position.
Yes. I will.
And you might get away.
I will run then. I think there's that poignant moment when I start off in like welcome in the Mercurio, and then it just trails off and I go, oh shit.
So now again, expertise is kind of by the by. So you're rolling 1 dice and the stress dice if you want a second one.
I mean, I need the stress dice at this point, don't I, frankly? Oof, and my stress goes up because it's a 6.
It's a
mark
6.
intel.
Isn't that good? Mark intel.
Yeah.
On a 6, you succeed brilliantly, and control will agree with you what extra benefit you get.
I would like the extra benefit to be that it chases me, but the extra benefit is that I manage to like lose it and it goes on.
That's fine. You will disappear from this scene.
Yeah, but what I mean is that
by icicle.
I disappear from the scene pursued by icicle, and when we next come to the framing, I'm no longer like pursued by the icicle. No. I've lost the icicle.
No, that would have been a 1 to 3. So Chewie, the icicle turns to you and says, "My apologies, madam," and chases the intruder. Not very bright, this elemental. Just as well Andy paused, given that the doorman has now run off into the snow, pursuing Mark. So Andy, Chewie, you are in what? Can you think of a really chintzy winter scene? Okay, so there are artificially large snowflakes falling from the sky. There are ice sculptures all over the place. There are people, there are men and women. The women all are wearing enormously shouldered dresses. The men are in double-breasted dinner jackets, and everyone is smoking. It is there are these enormous bulbs illuminating the scene. It is really, really, really bad taste. But it looks like some kind of corporate dinner dance, because there's a large marquee that you can see beyond all these people milling about, apparently not feeling the cold, a marquee where you can hear 1970s disco music, because that's what plays at 1980s corporate dues. What do you do, Andy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to turn to Chewie and say, well, shall we make our grand entrance?
Whatever you say, darling.
And
I will affect a slightly glassy-eyed look.
Fine. And beyond the marquee, you can see what appears to be a it's weird. It's as though you took a low-rise office building and built it out of ice. And you head into the marquee. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, Andy, let's see. I'm going to mark Heat, which I seem to have relabeled as she. How odd.
It's sheet.
It's sheet. So I'll mark Heat because you've now entered another part, a conspiracy control location. So Andy, I think I need you to get past the next doorman. What approach are you taking? Because you do have this little chip of ice.
Yeah. I think I think Andy's going to walk up to the doorman, full of confidence. Obviously, Chewie on his arm, and is just going to isn't going to do like a big kind of like waving the pendant around thing, but he's just going to casually just like lift it from out from the folds of the shirt sort of thing. I don't think he's going to even say anything to the doorman. Is just going to kind of show this, and then obviously is just intending to keep on walking without stopping.
It's a kind of, do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's authority.
Yep,
so
sure
I think
thing.
Roll with expertise, add the stress dice if you'd like to.
Do I want to add the stress? Yeah, I will add the stress dice to this because this seems like a bad point for things to go sideways. That was wasted. So remind me again, is it stress only goes up if the stress dice is the highest?
It automatically goes up if the stress dice is the highest. If it's a 6, then you'll roll for stress. But first of all, mark intel.
Sure. Yeah.
And you breeze through. What benefit do you get for this 6?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if maybe we catch the attention of like someone important or moderately important, in here.
Fine. No, that works for me.
Yeah.
Let me just check in there. Yes. I think I'm going to play my No, I'm going to hold on to my complications a bit early yet, because I've only got one to play with. Yes, and there you are, dressed in your full ringmaster regalia, ruffled shirt, the full Monty, and there are some figures that seem to be of higher status, and they're the ones you're heading towards. But then, Andy, you notice these ice sculptures, and at least 2 of them resemble people that you were tracking as missing. and you think for a moment that's odd, and then one of them, the eyes open and the eyes swivel towards you with a look of terror and pain. Would you roll for stress, please?
Absolutely. That's a 6, so yes.
Yeah,
I
okay,
will,
stress goes up. So I think we know where some of our missing people are going. And these are scattered about. There's almost one per table. And they're being, you know, they're holding ashtrays, or they have their arms circled, and people are using them to keep bottles cold, and it's foul. But it's clear those high status individuals are at the far end of this enormous marquee, where a queue seems to be forming. It looks like the high status people are being moved to another part of the location. Mark, let's cut to you out in the snowy wilderness where you've lost this clumsy, stupid icicle. What do we see you doing next?
I was going to say that perhaps I lose him behind, like, by diving in the snow, and he stomps off, right? And I get out all, and then I sneak in past the frozen fondue set that's out there in the marquee, right? And perhaps like under the side of the tent, you know, like,
okay,
just
okay. I suppose, and I'll give you. I would have given you larceny expertise, but let's see if anyone notices you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're rolling just one dice, the stress dice, if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going so well for you.
It is, yeah. And is this do something else, I guess?
This is just do something else, yeah.
Yeah.
Get in without being noticed. You get in without being noticed. And so you can begin to mingle, albeit, and do you know, being crusted in snow is probably quite high status here.
Yes, it is. But I think the one thing that I do is, you know, I come in via like a cloak near the cloakroom. And I just, like, as someone's handing in their coats to like some servant, I just go like, take it, swirl it around me and walk off, right?
Fine.
Changing my disguise slightly, and you know, also
Fine. Andy and Chewy, it appears that there is a kind of velvet rope, a blue velvet rope that is separating the mass of people in this swirling dinner dance. You've gone around the ballroom section where people are waltzing around out of time to the music, towards this queue of higher status individuals. Now you got a 6 to get in here in the first place, Andy. So I'm not going to have you roll for your cover again. I think that you are sufficiently established, and you appear to be chatting to these other high status people in a way that they know you. And so you can see that beyond this, there are fewer tables, but also there is a cage of ice. And it's almost as though the marquee opens into the ground floor of this low-rise office building, into an atrium. And hanging from the roof of the atrium is an ice cage, within which is Rosa. And I think at that point, we'll take a 5-minute break. Yeah, I'll pause the recording, and we'll pick up where we left off. It's going to take me a long time to get used to having Zoom telling me that recording has started. Talk about being thrown off your stride. So we'll pick up where we left off, which is the look on Chewy's face when she sees Rosa suspended 30 or 40 feet up in an icy barred cage, in effect, suspended by an icy chain to an icy ceiling. And most of the attention, as people go in, they go, "Oh yes, how wonderful!" And the attention, strangely, is not on Rosa. The attention is on a man chained to a post, an icy pillar beneath this cage, while one of the fae beats him with an icy cat of nine tails. Chewie, what are you feeling right now?
Fury.
What do you do with that emotion?
Try to figure out how to get Rose out of the cage.
Okay.
What's the lighting? What's the lighting in here from?
Well, it's odd, isn't it? It's like everything is emitting moonlight.
Everything's emitting moonlight. Right.
So there is shadow, but it's there's a diffuse moonlight, a bluey moonlight everywhere, and whether that is a single moon reflecting off this stuff, I don't know, but that's the ambience. Andy, you have probably seen a picture of Rosa, so because you all need to know who you're looking for, and she's up in that cage. Is your attention on her or what's going on the ground below?
I think he will obviously clock her in there. We'll look to Chewie, and then I think we'll just murmur softly, I'm going to have a look around down here, but when you're ready to make a move, I'll have your back. Yeah, I think is going to kind of probably separate from Chewie at that point and just start, kind of scoping out the room and stuff.
I should have pointed out that you've not had any contact from Mark since you crossed over. It doesn't look like that comms works.
Sure.
So it will literally be a question of trying to spot one another if you want to coordinate. It's clearly a mortal bleeding red blood chained to this pillar as he is beaten by a figure which our audience will recognize as the broken-headed boy from the end of episode 1, when we first had, or start of episode 2, where we got a picture of Mistress Winter beating a failed courtier with a putter. The broken-headed boy, as I now describe him, and you can see that it's not clearly he suffers a lot at the hands of Mistress Winter, because clearly some of his bones are badly set and he is oddly put together.
Roger.
But yes, he's beating this mortal, Andy. That's where most people down here, their attention is, as the broken-headed boy shouts up to Rosa, "So girly, changed your mind yet?" Chewie, I'll come to you one last time before I work out where Mark is.
I'm going to see if I can lock eyes with my daughter.
Fine. That seems very reasonable. I think this is more luck than judgment.
It is.
But I'm very happy to use the single dice in the middle and the stress dice, if you want to do it, to roll to do something else. Attract her attention without attracting anybody else's.
6.
Will you look at that? And it's like magnetism. It's almost like she suddenly realizes that her mother is in the room. And your eyes lock, and the first thing she does is she looks down at the man chained to the pillar, and as though I don't know what to do, but she knows you're here.
And I give her a wink.
Well, mark intel before we forget for that 6. What extra benefit do you want to get? For instance, do you want to spot?
Do I want to spot? Right.
Do you want to spot how you could get her out of that cage?
I do.
There is, it looks like there's a kind of locked top to it. So you could open some of the top to get her out. Or it looks like that icy chain runs to somewhere else in the building, presumably where there might be a winch. Okay?
Yeah.
But you rolled a 6, didn't you?
Did.
So you get to roll for stress, and then I'll tell you why. Stress goes up by 1. As there's a kind of howl of pain from the man chained below. And she looks down and says, "Daddy!" And we get our first look at Lev, your lost loved one, being beaten to entice his daughter to change her mind about something. Mark, let's cut to you. Swirled in your cloak as you are, looking more and more like Zorro with that hat. It would be really boring for you not to get to this inner bit of the
I
exactly.
agree entirely.
And so the rule of dramatic necessity means that you are now among this crowd. And I'm going to have you notice Chewie and Andy arrive and just separate a bit. So Andy's clearly surveying the crowd while Chewie is fixated on the girl in the cage and the man chained to the pole, to the pillar. You will recognize the girl as Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do, Mark?
I think I go up to, I think that, as Chewie like locks eyes and, there's that horrifying revelation, Mark comes up and, pats a hand on her shoulder, reassuringly, and says, don't worry, I'm sure we'll save her. And let's roll to see how convincing his complete pretense at humanity is this time.
I'm not going to make you roll for that. I think the audience knows. I'm curious about what's Mark's story here? Is Mark genuinely, is this the first crack in the facade?
No, I mean, it is, but at the same time, maybe it's not. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just pretending to be human. He can understand that. Yeah, he understands that other people care about these things. So, he's doing his best.
Chewie will turn to Mark with a malevolent glare.
It's a 5 on the
which Mark may not realize, which Mark may take a moment to realize is not aimed at him.
So Andy, you can see the girl. You too will have spotted that there's a way to get her out to the top of the cage, or maybe there's a way somewhere else in the building to lower her down to the ground.
Can I just go back? I was really hoping that to be a seek solace and comradeship.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I think this is the first. I think that it's not so much this is a first recollection as this is possibly the very first non-completely creepy thing that Mark has ever said.
I'm sorry, I haven't twigged the trigger hitting at all there. I beg your pardon.
So I rolled a 5.
Okay.
So I get to reduce stress, but they also have to.
They can roll for stress, or they choose to add something about their anchor to the recollection. Oh no, you've got no scope. You simply have to roll for stress, I'm afraid, Chewie.
Yes, that's
which, if it goes up, would be a really good thing right now.
Well, it's already gone up.
Because if it's gone up, then your expertise comes back online.
Yes, but it did go up, and my expertise is back online.
Fine.
Before, and so this time it didn't go up. Thank goodness.
That's all good then.
Yes, but you said Mark still gets the.
Mark still gets the benefit. Yeah.
Well, no, he also gets, yes, he also gets the benefit, as I said, of glare, of a glare of malevolence, which is directed at everyone here.
Okay. So we have Lev Adelson chained to an icy pillar. We have Rosa Ramirez in a cage above, and we have our 3 heroes, or anti-heroes as the case may be. I'm just going to check, Mark. One of the obstacles here was to pass yourself off as a Fae courtier. I don't think you've done that yet. Okay, because you haven't presented yourself as that. I'm just saying.
I mean, my next move meta-wise is to find the queen and try and have an audience with her.
Oh, right.
So which is to me feeling like I'm blagging my way as a fake member of the fake court.
So,
you know,
right.
like
So you want to use that to get to her, not in the first instance to help with Rosa.
I feel like this is the long-term solution to, you know, distraction, long-term, whatever, right? Like, but
so how are you going to find her?
Well, you know, where would any Fae Queen power room executive be other than the power room? There's always a private room for these things, a VIP area.
Oh, right. Just so I'm clear, there's no impression the Queen is at this function so far. So you're going to go further into the building to look for her.
That lovely executive lift that I see made out of ice.
Okay.
If that's allowable.
I will come back to you in a moment, just to see if you can get any further into the building. Chewie, what is your plan, if any?
Get Rose out of that cage.
How? What do we see you doing?
So this is a palace made out of ice, yes.
Sorry, say it again. I lost it.
This is an office building made out of ice, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I duck into an alcove, and I'm going to get out my intrusion kit
and climb up there.
And well, and if you with permission, a little cinematic fill up here, and you can tell me if that.
Go ahead.
What do you want? If this requires more than that. Well, you know, normally, you know, for when you're breaking and entering, you know, you would have blackout stuff in order to allow you to take maximum use of the shadows.
Yeah.
But in this case, I've got stealth. I've got a little stealth snow coverall.
I think that's fine. I think that.
So white. I've got a whiteout outfit.
No, go reflective. Just go glassy reflective.
Yeah, it's you know, it's like
reflection.
It's like what they use. It's like what they use for stealth in snow. Fine. Right. You have now, something that's.
Just so I'm clear, then, so you're going to need that breaking and entering kit,
right,
to get into the cage.
So I'm going to have to find a place that I can climb up. But but just the audience gets to see a little preview of that.
Fine, but I'm going to charge you a disguise kit for that coverall, because that isn't without mass. So you'll mark 2 of your boxes, and we see you slipping away from the crowd, away from their attention, and pulling this coverall on. Andy, what about you?
And I'm just before we parted ways, I think Andy and I agreed on a drop.
Okay.
You know, someplace, you know, in a wall sconce or something like that.
Because Andy, what's obvious to you, I think, and it's probably obvious to Chewie as well, is that the only way to get up there is to kind of get up the wall to the chain and then shin up the chain onto the top and then back the other way. And the challenge is going to be getting the girl out of there while everyone's looking at what's going on. Right? That's the challenge that's going to be faced here, I think. And I've played my only complication, which is there's a bystander issue. So it's either Lev and or Rosa. Okay. So Mark is heading to the other side of this atrium, looking for the way out. Chewie is changing. Andy, I would have thought you're sat there thinking, how are we going to get her down from up there? But let's go to Mark first as you get to the far end, to the entrance to the offices proper. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The executive, as you say, the executive elevator. I think you're going to need to con your way past the two red caps who are on duty there. And they're, you know, they're wearing these funny red skull caps, and they're squeezed into bouncer kit. Let's have you roll to maintain your cover, which you are claiming to be.
I mean, if Mercurio is enough to be a thing with a very important item to deliver to the Queen.
Fine.
Top secret.
Fine. So you are rolling. I mean, it would be with expertise if you had any, but otherwise, I'm assuming you're going to put the stress dice in there.
Yes.
Okay, let's.
There's a 6 on the stress dice, so my stress goes up
by 1.
Yeah.
But that is Mark Intel. 4 Intel. Wow. Got to find something to spend that on soon.
Yeah.
And they just stand out of the way, and one of them will even press the button on the elevator. What benefit do you want to get from this?
It is an express elevator, I suppose. Or that the Winter Queen is on her own when I go up there. Let's say
I'll go for that. And what is odd, though, Mark, is that though this is a low-rise 3 or 4 story building, there are 180 floors in the elevator buttons. And the last one says penthouse. Yeah. Ding. And it goes, and you're shaken by that. Chewie, let's have you roll with intrusion to get up there first, right? So you are rolling with expertise, the stress dice if you want it, and success will place you on the top of the cage without anyone having noticed.
6.
You lot are just taking the piss now.
At this point, yeah, well, after a horrible series of rolls.
So, yeah, I've from the point of thinking no one's ever going to get to this place. So, Mark Intel, you are there. What extra benefit do you want to have?
There's a distraction going on.
I think suddenly, yes, I think that the broken-headed boy has now unchained Lev and is leading him around the crowd and inviting them to beat him. Andy, he's coming towards you as he works his way around the circle of high status fae. So you are on the top. There is a distraction. Andy, do you want to do anything or do you want to wait?
I think actually for the moment I am going to wait. I might jump in and do something if it looks like stuff is going sideways with the rescue. But for the moment, that's I think I'll just keep an eye on the cage, keep an eye on the broken-headed boy.
Fine, just from under the brim of the ringmaster's hat. Okay, Chewie, you're on top. I now need intrusion to get her out. and then you've got to get it down, which is going to be the challenge, I think. But you know,
That's going to be the challenge.
but you know, you succeed with this, and she's on the top of the cage with you, and no one will have noticed.
6.
God, this Mother Summer is behind that piece of software, which strikes me as highly unlikely.
It's the mother-daughter bond.
If you want the additional benefit to be that she's on the ground now, I'm prepared to go with that.
I am, and here's how it happens.
Go on.
Okay, so I get her out of there. She's half frozen, but I managed to wrap her over my back and you know, tie her hands together around my neck. And then I produce a cord, and it turns into a zip line. And so we so we just zip down the chain, and it happens so quickly, and of course it's ice, it doesn't make any particular sound.
No.
Right. The stop at the end is the potentially trickiest part, but
that's fine. No, that looks good. That looks good on film, particularly when this almost invisible woman carries a visible child or
yes,
young woman
down
an icy chain. And you're on the ground, but you did roll a 6, so you do need to roll for stress. As out the corner of your eye, and Andy, you will see this as well, Lev begins to growl. Roll for stress, Chewie.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. There we go. I got a 4, so my stress goes up 1.
It does, goes up by 1. You step out into the upper floor penthouse, Mark, and of course our audience will recognize it as a room that we've previously seen in a cutscene. Slightly worn, tacky carpet, 1980s office equipment, a tall, statuesque woman with shoulder pads is playing office golf. What do you do, Mark, as there's a ping and the doors open and she is about to turn around?
I mean, I walk in and I simply greet her with a smile. And I say, "Why, Mistress Winter?"
And she glances at you. What do you? And she's going back to the pat. What do you want, Mercurio? Roll to maintain your cover. This is. Are you in fact a convincing FAE courtier in front of the Queen?
Yes. So I need to reconnect to roll with me. Oof, that's a 1 and a 2. Contact that says.
You know, you spend the stress. I'm prepared to go with the flow.
A watcher.
Well, no, you can. Oh no, you can't call them the same. No, you're quite right. You can't call them the same contact twice. So a watcher. Okay.
A watcher, and that's a mark by 4. And the watcher is well, what was the name of what should be a lamplighter, right?
I think it should be a lamplighter.
Yeah. Well, then it's
Heinrich,
the lamplighter, who I had case out Mercurio like constantly, so I have like a background of all those things. So in fact, I didn't say Mistress Winter, I said, Mistress Winter, it's good to see you.
Okay, you get a re-roll for that. This went really well last time.
Oh yes, yeah, and it was exactly the same dice roll as well. So let's see if I get the repeat of that one. No, that's a 4.
So she does indeed say, "What do you want, Mercurio? I'm busy." Tap.
Well, you have been looking for something, huh? I think I may have found it.
And she retrieves the golf ball and, what do you mean, tap?
Well, round, small, fits on your finger. Group of well, meddling people seem to have taken it from Summer.
And she reaches out with a putter, drags the ball towards her, somehow manages to scoop the putter underneath the ball and toss it in the air, catch it, crush it to powder.
Oh, it's like ice that goes out. Yeah.
What do you mean? As you've got her attention now.
Yeah.
Let us cut back to Andy. Lev is being brought round towards you now. And you are noticing there is a change going on with him. His face is beginning to change shape.
That is certainly weird. I'm not sure about what I can do about that in particular, but as sort of he comes around towards me, I'm going to kind of let out a kind of hard chuckle and just say, "Oh, come now, lad. Beating on a poor wretch like this, well, certainly some distraction. It's not going to get the blood flowing in a cold place like this. Why don't we make this a little bit more interesting?" And I think Andy's going to step forwards, and I think as part of the ringmaster costume, there is like the bullwhip at his waist. And I think he sort of unfurls and gives it a crack in the air, and he says, "Let's see if you're quite so good against a moving target, eh?"
Oh, wow, Andy. Well, first of all, I do have to have you maintain your cover, I think.
Sure thing.
To see whether he will take the challenge, whether the broken-headed boy will go for this. So, but I think this sounds like authority, or it doesn't sound very charming.
Yeah, I think authority sounds fair.
Fine. So with expertise, stress dice if you want it. I think you are currently on 4 stress.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold off on that stress for the moment, I think.
Okay.
I should not have held off on that stress. That is a
he's looking at you and he says something like, "Ringmaster?" Now, do you want to try and pull the same trick that Mark did? That you've got you've managed to build up some kind of legend on the ringmaster that might give you some fictional position to re-roll?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I think this is this marking a stress to do
Mark
that?
Stress to call on a contact.
Yeah. And I think the contact that I am going to call on is yeah, I think that it's going to be yeah, I think it is going to be the I'm going to call on a librarian, I think, and they are the one I'm going for is it's
I'm just thinking it could be Dr. Brown, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, no, that does make sense. Yeah, that probably makes most sense. So yeah, I think that's cool. I think we kind of get like a flashback to that conversation they had earlier, reveals like a kind of some details about how court etiquette within FAE sort of thing. So he knows how to kind of pull off the
challenge.
Yeah.
Fine. Have a re-roll. Or just the 2 dice or 3 this time?
Oh, yeah, go on. I'll risk my last stress.
Oh, I'm just thinking. Hang on, be careful. If this does go to 6, you will crack.
You can use intel to drag your stress down.
You can.
That is fair then. Yep. So in which case, I guess I've rolled those less now, but yeah, I'll spend the point of intel first to drop my stress down. I think that will
leave stress where it is, but you will get a success.
Sure.
And so the broken-headed boy hands the chain that the transforming Lev is attached to somebody else, and begin to square up to you. Chewie, you see this happening on the other side of the room. What do you do?
Priority 1 has to be to secure Rosa.
So
as much as I hate this, so I need to get her outside.
Fine. So in effect, you're just trying to get away at this point.
If the only way to secure her is to stay with her, I don't want to.
If you leave her alone, then events may intervene. I don't know. I'd like to have a bronze cookery. There is a bronze cookery in somebody's satchel. So Chewie, I contemplate on that while I cut to Mark and the Queen, or Mistress Winter, and she turns, lights a cigarette, and says to Mercurio, "Well done, Mercurio. Give it to me."
Well, mistress, do you know my contract is up for negotiation? Why don't we hash it out? And I gesture towards the long boardroom table.
I think I'm prepared to have you sat at opposite ends of a boardroom table.
Yeah.
And to see a negotiate. What does this negotiation look like?
It's like steepled hands, I think we really need to synergize our strategies together. These old, paradigms are no more functional in the fast-paced modern world of today. And I'm using all the 80s jargon that I can, and I suppose my proposal is that, Mercurio wants to move up in the world, and he wants to be partners. He thinks he's ready for it to be a partner for this firm, and his only price to hand over something so important is, he'll hand over the ring. It's very important. It's crucial to this whole thing. He will, if we can be partners and leave. We're trying to work out a way of phrasing, form an alliance, I want to get right into the top of this conspiracy, basically, but I also want to sort of guarantee the safety of the other operators. And I think this is a sort of back and forth and fine print, and you know what I mean, it's slipping things across the table and very big sort of things.
The Queen is uninterested in what's going on downstairs. She's interested in the ring. That was an effort to entice them here. Clearly it's failed. I will have to talk to Roger. The difficulty is, Mercurio, that the position that I could offer you is already filled.
Who by?
And she reaches into a desk drawer and pulls out a picture, face down, and spins it down the desk towards you. Let's cut back to Andy. Andy, confront the conspiracy and its pawns?
Yeah.
With what intention?
So my initial intention here is to basically give Lev a window to escape. that's his primary intention here. And I think the way that this looks is yeah, he's going to kind of twirl the whip around a bit, kind of lash out towards the broken-headed boy, but is actually going to try and like whip the hand of the person that's taken the seemingly by mistake, but yeah,
Fine. I mean, that actually looks like, that feels more like roll to do something else.
Yeah, sure.
So let's, I mean, just the success levels are the same. So this is with expertise, because you have hand-to-hand would be valid expertise. And the stress die if you want it, though I will remind you again that
you
can always spend intel.
I will spend my last point of intel to take my stress back down to 4 again.
And let's have you roll with the stress die if you want it.
Yeah, I will do. I want to try and pull this one off. Well, that's a 6 on the stress dice.
Look at that. So stress goes back up to 5, but it works perfectly. So you get what you said, which is you catch the hand of the person holding the Lev's chain, and it tinkles to the ground. What extra benefit do you want to get?
I think what it is just going to be, I think like the person who's holding it like lets out a cry and calls out imprecations at me. Probably several other of the courtiers present start laughing and stuff. And I think what I want to get out of it is that like just people forget about Lev for the moment, so they're not even kind of looking as he makes
leaps after Chewie and Rosa.
Yeah.
Chewie, as you look over your shoulder, what do you do when you discover that there is a werewolf on all 4s chasing you?
I saw him transforming.
You did.
I'm going to spend a point of intel on a compulsion.
Oh, okay. So let's go here and put werewolf in. Okay. So pick a compulsion.
Riddled.
Fine.
Because Chewie's ready for this one.
Okay. And I won't bother to fill in some powers. I don't really get there. Mark, the picture is face down before you. We see you turn it over.
Mm-hmm.
Cut back to Andy. Andy, chaos. Lev has dashed for it. You see the final transformation into the wolf as he leaps through the crowd, and people scatter. There's a degree of laughter. A chase, a hunt. What do you do?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good opportunity. I think as people start to like move and chase and run, I think that Andy's going to kind of give a slightly mocking bow to the broken-headed boy, and is going to just try and run and join in with the chase.
Do you in fact want to flee for your life back to the portal?
That sounds like an excellent plan.
Let's have you roll to flee for your life and see whether the broken-headed boy will will pursue you. So, to be honest, you don't have fieldcraft. You're not trying to blend into a crowd. This is about just legging it. So you have no expertise to play with here.
Yeah, and I think I'm just going to have to throw myself on the whims of fate and see what happens.
A 5. Oh, now 4 or 5. You get away clean. You may not re-enter the scene you escaped from, but control will agree, blah, blah, blah. So you disappear into the night, pursued by the broken-headed boy, but we know you're going to get away. Chewie, do you keep Rosa with you, or do you send her on?
I'm going to, since a crowd is breaking for it, I'm going to send her on with instructions.
Okay, so
and
she's going to run on.
Yes, and And I'm going to run too.
Okay.
But I want the werewolf to pursue me.
Okay, so you're going to run in a different direction. Yeah? Away from she's running towards the portal. You want to lead the wolf away from the portal.
I want eventually to lead him towards the portal.
Yeah,
but I want him to be close behind me.
Fine. Well, I think that's not fleeing for your life, because that would just take you out of the scene. So I think it is roll to do something else.
Yes.
With fieldcraft, if you've got it.
Nope.
You have. No.
I do not.
It's the only physical skill, really, fitness skill we have. Stress dice if you want it.
It is. Unless, unless insight helps, it's I'm not going to because I don't know what the crowd is doing.
Yeah.
But perhaps I can read the crowd a little bit.
Well, I think you're worried about staying ahead of the werewolf at the minute and giving Rosa instructions.
Could insight be the wolf?
I don't think
the framing works. Sorry, yeah.
No, it's fine. That's understood. I'll just roll. So I have no expertise, but I can roll stress. So I will. I'm trying to roll stress. The die didn't roll.
Stress goes up by 1.
That's a
fail, the worst of all possible worlds. So that is fail. Or control may offer you success at a cost or after a hard choice they describe. The hard choice is that the crowd follows you as well. So you can stay ahead of him, but you will have the rest of the Fae following him. That may be what you were hoping for. I don't know, but it puts
I'll take it.
Okay. Andy is back at the portal, where you see Rosa running towards you, Andy, up in the Queen's suite. Do you turn it over, Mark? And does it matter who's on the other side, or do we see the ring spinning up to the other end of the table?
I think it's Reece, right, on the other side of the photo.
It is.
And I think I look at it. I take off the hat. And I just say, well, let's shake on it.
So, Chewie, all the Fae and a werewolf are pursuing you. You have bought some time. It is now a question of flee for your life. Back to the portal. Yeah?
Yeah.
How long are you going to leave that mirror in place, Andy?
I'll call it probably about 5 minutes, I think, after me and Rosa get out.
Okay. So, Chewie, you've gone the long way round and you are running back towards where you think the portal is. Let's have you roll to flee for your life, finally, and for finish. No expertise, I think. Stress dice. If you did, you're on 6. You're on 5.
Yeah,
stress.
but I'm riding high. I'm riding high on earlier successes.
Go for it.
All right. Come here, dice roll.
Green and grey dice in the middle.
Yep. Beautiful grey die and the capricious green die.
Oh no! So flee for your life on a 3. You're in trouble. Choose to get caught or agree with control who or what gets left behind before you mark heat and try to flee for your life again. I tell you what I'm going to suggest to you.
Please.
Whatever's in that last equipment slot.
No, I'll ditch everything.
So whatever you were hoping you had as a last resort, it's not there anymore. Roll to flee for your life again.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was going to work anyway.
Surely not twice.
No, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble selecting a die. I didn't roll.
Oh, there you go. And 4.5 minutes, Andy, as Rosa's saying, "Where's my mother? Where's my mother?" Out of the mirror comes Chewie. "But it's been a long time since you last saw Mark."
Sorry. Yeah, and I think I'm just I'm going to turn to Chewie and say, did you see Mark anywhere as you were coming through?
Nowhere. He wasn't in the crowd. I scanned it.
Um,
and I think with that, yeah, just slams the torch he's holding into the mirror and shatters it.
Spot on. Lovely finish.
And it breaks, right? And the reflection of the broken glass turns into the icy reflection of the boardroom. And I'd like to spend intel on the truth on the Fae Queen, so I can come up with a compulsion. Is that right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, honor a debt, such as returning a ring. Right.
Honor a debt.
Yeah.
But what's the fictional positioning around the ring?
Well, the ring is that it breaks all bonds except those that are sworn upon it, right? And my understanding of the summer winter detente is that they are bound by pacts that can't be broken. I am basically like, the Cold War was underneath the Warsaw Pact, right? So this is basically saying, like, we're not bound by the Warsaw Pact anymore. We can reforge it together. But first, we must shake as partners and swear, and I don't reveal that I have the ring on my hand as I shake and we come to our agreement. But,
fine.
Yeah. Does that work?
Yeah. No, that works. And that, I think, is where we finish, because that's a great cliffhanger for season 2. Yeah. Oh, dearie me. What a rip-roarer. Okay, I would like a quick Roses and Thorns starts. Well, yes, Roses and Thorns at last session. So let's run across from left to right. Let's start with Will. Any roses?
Well, I really enjoyed this last session. I really enjoyed the whole setup for the whole thing. Like the Fae conspiracy is a different one. I'd love to see it again now that we're more like au fait with the rules.
Have you been saving that one up?
No, I haven't, but I didn't even mean to say it. And as I said it, I was like, I nearly tried to find a different way of saying it. But anyways, I'm glad that we rescued someone. And I know I had a habit of going off and doing my own thing, but I really wanted to work my way towards.
That's okay. No one liked you.
No, yeah, exactly. Look at how quickly they smashed that mirror.
Yes, exactly. 4 minutes 30, 4 minutes 35, smash.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed all of it. I really enjoy the different spin that it puts on having it be the Fae versus everything else. And I always enjoy the system, and I really enjoyed the characters and everything. We had like lots of human-y people, than me, I suppose.
Yeah, somebody who's colder than winter. Brandon, any roses?
I for all that Mark did go off by himself. I thought your gambit was a wonderful one, and so was the Andy, brandishing the picture of Andy with the bullwhip there, and I was had
a chair, to be honest.
Yeah, well, no, well, you could have snatched a chair up. I mean, the ballroom is full of chairs. So from a cinematic point of view, it was great. It was nice to have a target.
Yes, thank you for volunteering one.
It just seemed like the thing to do. Sad not to, to have another dagger driven into the heart regarding Lev. But as you said, there has to be a season 2.
Yeah, at least you know where he is.
The Fae conspiracy feels completely different than the Dark Conspiracy does.
Isn't that interesting? Because that would have been one of my questions: is does it feel different? And I don't know if it's just the set dressing, but it does feel different.
It does. It feels like we're fighting a much more kind of nuanced enemy. One with where violence and such like that has less of a role and it's much more about you know, knowledge and trying to figure out what's going on and such like that. And it's just a feeling, but there it is.
Well, now, you know, I'll take that. David, any roses?
Yeah, so in general, yeah, I mean, this is my first time playing this, and I've played your Actum Cthulhu one previously, which has some
there are
crossover.
overlaps.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so it was cool to see it in action. I enjoyed it. I think it delivered sort of on what I was looking for from this sort of the idea of this game. So that's excellent on that front. I like how the kind of the slight tweaks to the basic moves, where it always feels like roughly similar actions but with some nuance to them, rather than being like completely different things. So it's quite easy to kind of not worry too much about precisely which move you're going into, as it were. So that's cool. I like that about it. I like the whole faith thing. I think it makes a really interesting difference to kind of what I know of Night's Black Agents. I'm not a huge expert on it or anything, but so I think that's cool. And that sort of more like normal, I suppose, urban fantasy type conspiracy stuff. It feels a bit. It does feel a bit like different to that. So that was cool. In terms of like stuff that happened in the session today, just I really like the whole that whole bit with Mark and the and Mistress Winter. I love those moments where it's like, wait a minute, is this a real betrayal? Is this a double agent thing? Is this a triple agent thing? What's going on here? So that was really nice. I really liked the sort of seeing sort of Chewie be able to get back and rescue the thing, and also like was already mentioned, but putting the anchor in the crosshairs as well, to get to that point was awesome. I think it's a nice way of doing that, sort of making it a bit more voluntary, that like whether or not like important people to you do come under the spotlight is really nice way of doing it as well, back onto the system thing.
Well, I have to say, I was all set to spend heat to put Rosa in the crosshairs if Chewie hadn't volunteered. So you saved your heat. Thank you.
Alan, just like the way you kept things moving, kept things structured, getting into checking in and seeing where people were and sort of synthesizing that all was really well done today. Thank you. My
stars, I liked the fact that Mark, he was never going to let go of that ring, was he, until it really bought him something. I'm not sure it's appropriate for me to put a character's anchor into the crosshairs of a player rather than the conspiracy, but it's, what the heck. Chewie, the whole relationship with Rosa was great, and the thing, David, about Andy is that he is every man in this, isn't he? He's the human core. He's always worried about the people involved, and I thought it was delightful. You played really strongly to that. Why did you confront the conspiracy? Well, my basic humanity. All that was great, and I'm really pleased it felt FAE. Quite how I have to go back to that bit of the book now and see if I've communicated that. What exactly did we do in this session that made it feel like that? But no, I thank you. Let's go back round for Thorns. Will, Thorns.
I think it was more just a case of getting used to the framing questions and stuff. Like, I think we were a bit woolly in our second one. Like it didn't provide much in the way of we didn't fulfill our objective, right? Because we framed our objective in a way, and then like with our subsequent questions, we sort of moved away from that core and within our actions, right? And it's a game where it's almost like a full storytelling game in that aspect, where you haven't got like a pre-planned op really, right? You've got like the prompts that we've given, and essentially whenever we ask one of those questions, we've got a chance to be like, how will we advance towards the objective kind of thing? And I think it was very easy when we had like the museum, we want the ring. And then in the third, in this one, we were like, save Rosita. And, frankly, I don't think they needed 3 players, which is when I was like, let's go off and do my own thing. But yeah, I don't know if that's, I think they're very good rules. I just think it's a case of like mentality, like, yeah.
And you got it quicker than some, it must be said. The first series of this I ran back on the Gauntlet a couple of months ago, and like by episode 4 they were beginning to get there, but that was in part because I wasn't explaining very well what I was expecting of them. So the fact that you got there, it was woolly because you had an objective, and then your questions, as you say, weren't particularly focused on that, and then your actions certainly weren't. Any thorns, Brandon?
No, that was the only, having played with these rules before, and the mechanics are the same. And I like them, I thought they worked well before, and they work well now. I have just the same thing, right? It's the why didn't I was trying to go through my head and say, why didn't that second episode really work for me? And it was because we got, and especially I think I got lost in the woods a little bit, thinking up a question or an assertion that was kind of interesting or something like that, but wasn't pointed in the same direction as the objective we had chosen. And so it's not a thorn, but perhaps just a games master reminder to ask people. It's like, okay, is that going to help you? Is that going to help you achieve your objective? Is that in other words, to gently discourage kind of side cases.
Yeah. Put that in another op.
I think of it like the theorize move in Brindlewood Bay. Like, here are all your clues. How do you make this work?
Well, at the minute, everywhere you look, you see a theorize move from Brindlewood Bay. But no, I think that's good. I think that's good. That does need to go into the GM advice, which is, keep reminding people what the objective they've set is, and then encouraging them to focus on it. David, any thorns?
This is like a very, very minor thorn in the grand scheme of things. And I know I mentioned this before. I've just been finding it a little bit difficult to keep all the rules straight in my head, just because I don't know what it is. Like I like character keepers for most things, but I find just like basic moves and stuff in them, I always lose my place trying to read through stuff. I mean, the game isn't in a PDF yet, so that problem will be solved by dint of the work you're doing on it. It's just, so I think that's like where I was having kind of issues remembering what moves did what. That was where that came from.
No, that's a fair criticism. And I think it reflects my I hate having the PDF because I don't know where to look, but I can see that I'm not everybody. But yeah, there will be a reference sheet. That
was my own thing. The only other thing I was thinking was, and again, not like a big thorn, because I think that we were on enough of the same page that it wasn't a problem. But I know obviously, like, the point is that you are sort of slowly building out what the conspiracy actually is and piecing together an idea of it. But I would have liked to start with a slightly firmer idea of what exactly it was that we were up against, if that makes sense. Just not like in detail, but just like, I felt like in that first session, it was like, well, I know what I expect from a FAE mystery. but I don't know if that's what everyone else thinks, kind of thing. And I think maybe just that spending just that little bit of time and just grounding out some of the very basic details on it might have just helped kind of, and again, possibly that might help avoid like issues where that you just can't, struggling to come together with a coherent
that's
case
interesting,
sort of thing.
Because I've written quite a spiel about what components would you find in a FAE conspiracy.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering whether it almost needs some kind of little bit of world building that has a couple of sliders that you could all agree on.
So or even if it, even like I said, I mean, I think that's definitely an idea. Or even if it is just literally the kind of, even if it's not like a kind of collaborative world building thing, but is just something like at the beginning of the thing, the GM says, this is what you know about the FAE so far. They do this, they do that, they do the other, or, Yeah,
fair point.
So like one thing I was thinking about this session was our why did you choose to confront the conspiracy and what would entice you back into the fold? And I remember, I think at the start, it was again one of those questions that we weren't supposed to answer in too much detail. We were supposed to leave like fairly open. But looking at the moves, nothing really goes you back to your core motivation. So I was wondering if that might be ways of, why did you get into this life is a question that you can use to build up what you actually know about. And we did a little bit of that, right, with Andy's disappearing people, but we could have maybe built on it a bit more, right? Like I could have said, like, what was I doing that they betrayed me for? And then, Lev Adelson could have been a bit more fleshed out, and then we would have had more concrete lines to, what was Gunnar's team doing when they did that kind, or what took them out, a red cap, right? You know what I mean? It just builds up a little bit more about the conspiracy with a couple of bigger questions, because that's not unlike the anchor and like least like most.
No, that's an interesting idea. It's probably simpler than trying to come up with a kind of world building submodule.
Because I don't think they have to be big.
Given I've already 160 pages.
160. Wow.
They're quite small pages, Who needs a 40-page zine? Hey, I've kept you long enough, guys. Thank you for that. It's really helpful feedback. And as always, a joy playing with you. Hope to play with you all again soon. Okay. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.